There is a revolution happening in this region of Africa between August 2020 and July 2023. The quartet of Mali, Guinea, Burkina, and DJ all saw their respective governments overthrown by men in uniform, hoping to bring some positive change to their countries. These schools led to Western powers getting kicked out of the African continent. In embarrassing fashion, what followed next was the creation of an alliance that has since been the source of trouble to Western leaders, especially when it comes to this tiny landlocked country known as Burkina Faso. And the man behind all the sleepless nights for the West is this guy, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He is loved by young people all over the continent of Africa. Since coming into power, he has made strict easies to pull his people out of poverty and cut dependence on foreign aid. But his journey has not been without challenges. Cabinator in Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it is their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the HA regime. Yeah, the U.S. seems to be pretty mad at him, and there have been reports of 18 assassination attempts on his life since becoming the leader of this small West African country. The question, though, is how did a little-known soldier become one of the most feared African leaders of the 21st century, so much so that powerful forces are scrambling to take him out? This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré, the man the West fears the most. We don't need interference of Western countries anymore. These are scenes from recent protests across the continent of Africa. And even in Europe, people coming out in their thousands to protest against assassination attempts on the life of Ibrahim Traoré. But to understand this revolution taking Africa by storm and why it means so much at home and abroad, we need to go back in history to a time when this country was known as the Republic of Opera. The year is 1960. A wave of freedom movements is spreading across Africa. The Republic of Upper Volta is among the African countries declaring independence. As it gains its freedom from France, independence activities for Upper Volta began with the arrival at Ouagadougou, the capital city, of visiting dignitaries, including officials from other countries. The French had violently oppressed the region in the late 19th century. However, by the time World War II came to an end, the French were placed under increasing pressure to give up their colonial possessions. When this freedom movement got to Upper Volta, the people could not contain their joy. Freedom at last. So it is the late 1960s. Isiamogo becomes the first president of Upper Volta, and he immediately sets out to create real change for his people. But part of the way he does this is by making sure no one is able to oppose his rule. To consolidate his powers, Yo establishes a one-party state under the Volcanic Democratic Union. His administration continues to rely on France, with numerous French advisors holding key decision roles in the military and the civil administration. This new colonial relationship is criticized by his people. But Yamango turns a deaf ear to their complaints. Instead, his role becomes increasingly autocratic. He begins to jail critics and consolidate power by appointing his relatives to keep positions within the government. In the years that follows, he embarked on lavish spending despite widespread poverty. However, his austerity measures and authoritarian style soon sparked public discontent. By late 1965, nationwide strikes and demonstrations by unions erupt over wage cuts and the end of subsidies for traditional chiefs. The government becomes unstable. Yo declares a state of emergency, but mass protests persist all over the country, reflecting the people's frustration with economic hardships under his one-party rule. Amidst this chaos, the military steps in on the 3rd of January, 1966. The army, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sanguel Lamizana, seizes power, forcing President Yamu to resign. The former president is then placed under house arrest as Lamizana assumes the presidency on the 7th of January 1966. The new regime wastes no time suspending the constitution and dissolving the National Assembly. This military intervention, the first of many in Burkina Faso's post-sea colonial history, is initially welcomed by citizens tired of Yamo's rule. And so, with the people solidly behind him, Lamizana slowly begins to establish his ideas and rebuild the country in his own image. As one of his first major acts as president, he decides to establish the country's first military academy in Ouagadougou. This new institution, designed to model the next generation of military leaders, offers a unique opportunity to 3 students from the most recent group of secondary school graduates who would be selected to join the academy with full scholarships. Among those who makes the cut is Thomas Sankara. He will be relevant to our story much later. The late 1960s and 70s continues to witness tensions in the country's political climate. The people soon realize that Lamasana is no different from Yamio, the president, starts to consolidate power ruling with a military. Heavy regime political party activity is banned in 1966 as he tries to stabilize the country, however recognizing the need for civilian legitimacy, Lamasana drafts a new constitution that is approved by referendum in 1970, paving the way for a second republic at the military academy. Thomas Sankara makes an unlikely friend Adama, a history and geography instructor known for his progressive ideas. Recognizing Sankara's intellectual curiosity and political inclination, Tife invites him and a few other promising students to participate in informal discussions outside the classroom. In this secretive gatherings, Tife introduces Sankara to revolutionary ideas that would profoundly influence his worldview. Among the topics Sankara found interesting were the global struggle against imperialism, new colonialism, and the Soviet and Chinese revolutions, and the ongoing liberation movements happening across Africa. As he concludes his military training, Thomas decides to embark on an advanced program, one that will take him away from Upper Volta for a few years. Those years would become the most important years of his life. With so much going on right now, I think it becomes increasingly important for more people to come out and express their ideas, thoughts, and opinions without feeling anxious or having any fear of judgment. And I know content creation can seem overwhelming and exhausting, but with Invito AI, you can create content in the most seamless, intuitive way possible, irrespective of whatever skill level you are. Just type in the idea you want to create a video about and watch as it transforms into a fully structured video. The US just slapped major tariffs on several countries, causing global economic chaos. And the best part of that, you can refine it effortlessly using simple test commands. Want to add your voice and start with a joke? Just type it in. This is pretty game-changing, unlike traditional video tools that come with steep learning curves and only solve bits of the process. Invito AI is your all-in-one creative partner. It removes the friction, puts you in the director's seat, and lets you focus entirely on your vision while it takes care of the heavy lifting. You can try Invito AI for free today. This will save you hundreds of dollars that you would otherwise spend on editing, animating, and other production costs. Click on this link in the description box below to take advantage of this offer while it lasts. Thank you, Invito, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to tutorial. Upper Volta, back in Odogu. The government is still divided on several issues. In December 1970, parliamentary elections are held, and a civilian prime minister is appointed, indicating a possible return to Sides v. Lian rule. However, these steps fails to stop Lamasana from retaining ultimate authority, as tension continues to grow between the military and the revived political class over power sharing. But political crisis is not the only trouble plaguing Upper Volta. It is now 1973, the Sahel falls victim to severe drought that wrecks the economy of Upper Volta, further making life difficult for the people. Lamasana's experiment with limited democracy